Hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode of Own Your Choices and Own Your Life. And today I have a very special guest with me. We are actually connecting for the first time, seeing each other. We've actually had a very lengthy phone call. Her name is Tina Aurelio. And Tina and I were connected through our Mo Mondays connection. I did Mo Mondays in Niagara Falls, met Ronnie Fisher, met Tom Cunningham. Tom reached out and said, you two definitely need to connect. And hence started a few messages to a phone call to here we are today on this podcast. So I'm really excited to have her with us today. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background on Tina. She worked in the corporate world for most of her career, and she ended up giving up her position in sales. And I believe she said about 14 years ago, and she gave that up to pursue her love and life purpose in coaching, health, wellness, fitness, and lifestyle. And she basically made a lot of changes at one time. And as she can look back at it, realizing how important some of those steps were and some of the changes that she went through. And when Tina and I had a conversation, our phone conversation prior to this, I was honestly blown away at the things that she is doing with her life and impacting others and helping to pay it forward, and who has had her fair share of challenges in life, to say the absolute least. So I am very proud to have you on the show today with me, Tina. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited. Very excited.
I am thrilled. Yeah, well, you're more than welcome. I'm thrilled to have you here with us. So let's just kind of start a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I just gave it a little bit of an intro that you made some major life changes a number of years ago. So tell us about yourself.
Well, I've had a lot of shifting in my life, but the most, it started when I was 37 years old. It was one fine morning, stumbling out of bed, another day, another dollar.
Yeah.
Looked in the mirror and I didn't know who I was. Mm-hmm. I had placed my life in someone else's hands. And well, of course, that's a dangerous thing to do because, my goodness, who doesn't want that control, right? So at the time I had two boys, Rudy and Michael, who were ages 9 and 6 at the time. And I decided that I was going to walk into the place I was working at and resign immediately. So it really stated effective immediately. I'm leaving my position of 14 years. And then I told my husband I was leaving him. So I basically took the children and left him. But how that transpired was that I was charged with kidnapping. And unfortunately, I lost my children for a full year.
Oh.
The judge ruled that I was an unfit mother because I did that. So it was, needless to say, a long custody battle. I finally got my children back part-time. So I became the part-time parent in their lives. In the meantime, I knew within me that I had to prepare for when these boys came back to me because I was broken. I didn't belong. I didn't have a home. I literally packed 2 suit bags and left. I was living out of my car for the longest time. And through the grace of God and other people that were, there is kindness in this world. That's all I have to say. And when people, reach out and just take the kindness, because that's, people are helping you. Through that time, the boys came back part-time. I decided I didn't know what to do with my life. So I took a 2-year sabbatical and I ended up being a reflexology teacher. Mm-hmm. That's where I started the wellness part of it. And that slowly transpired to yoga teacher, Pilates teacher, life coaching, nutritional coaching, and so on. So, life somehow shifted into this beautiful flow. And my son, Michael, my youngest son, Michael, started high school and he, started acting very, very different than what I was used to. And he started using drugs. So needless to say, the last 6 years of my life have been totally dedicated to undoing a lot of my beliefs towards, let me step back. 4 years, Michael was addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
2 years ago, Michael died of an overdose. So he died March 15, 2015. So March 11, pardon me, 2015. So when he left, I left with him.
Yeah.
I left with him. I had to leave because it was not only dealing with that loss, but dealing with everything that brought us to that point as a parent to move forward, to move on, to, you know, to just come out of it and, you know, just be another person in the world. And, you know, I don't know all the parents out there that are going through this and suspecting that they're going through this, but please reach out to people. And, you know, it's not, I used to think that it was my secret for 4 years. That the disease was mine as well as my son's and as well as my husband's and my other 2 sons. We went through a lot with Michael. He overdosed once before. You know, we got him clean. He would go back out. And near the end of it, my husband and I had to make a decision of tough love and literally say, you're not allowed here anymore. So him passing then brought this, you know, overwhelming thing. Oh my God, you know, maybe I pushed him to the edge and it was my fault. But, you know, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I did everything right. And I did everything at the time, the best I could for both of us and our family. And so from that point, when Michael died, I lost a sense of connection to myself, to the world. I didn't know what my place was. I didn't know where to go from there. But I prayed and I thought, you know, please help me. I don't know what to do. And I remember the nurse calling his time of death. And I seriously thought to myself, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make this. And in that moment, the prayer was answered very differently. The prayer came in as a light and a connection to everything. I was connected to Michael's bed. I was connected to my son, Michael. I was connected to the chair. I was connected to the wall. And I saw him differently. And that opened up later. I went back to that and that maybe this was the way it was supposed to be for me to be, you know, where I am today. And, you know, I say that Michael is my great awakener because I had many awakenings in my life, but this ultimately gave me the connection to the other side. And believing that, you know, we do pass physically, but I also understand that we are living for whatever we are promised in the other life. So from there, 2 years have passed, and I must say that my life has been very fulfilled, and I'm very grateful for the gift that my son gave me. So I don't look at his death as a tragic, disastrous thing that happened to me anymore, but I define death as an act of love. And I encourage everyone to see that, because it is that. Because looking back and thinking of our life together and everything that him and I have gone through, my God, who like, it left the question as I sit here with you, who am I? Because I found this strength, I found this conviction that, you know, the love is love, and if it's this much pain, then there's got to be love behind it. But I've had to let go of the pain, and I started getting myself involved with other parents like me, with children like my son. People started reaching out, so we're healing together, and you know, and that is the key. It's find that connection that heals you and you become whole again, because we're really never not whole. It's, I think, our minds and thoughts and beliefs and concepts about our lives and who our players are, it's misconstrued. Like, your mind plays awful games on you. It always takes you back. Look what you did to him. Look what you said to him. Look how you kicked him out. Da, da, da. But I did it because I wanted to own up to him as a mother and say, you can't do this anymore. And he had to own up to what he was doing. But unfortunately, it happened how it happened. But I also understand that there's no mistakes in the universe. There's no mistakes. So believing that, then I accept what's happened to me, and I'm going to make a better world for myself, my family, and whoever crosses my path, because it is my responsibility as a human being. If I understand it, then this is the way I would want, this is how I live my life.
I mean, there's so many things that you shared there, and thank you for being so real.
Thank you.
So honest. Honestly, it just hits me. It hits me, and I admire you for being real, because there are, there's a lot of different people who do tune in and listen. And I think it's important for people to understand that, perspective and what you did. And I have no doubt you did everything as a mom that you could possibly do. And that's where the surrender and let go part comes in, is you can honestly look at it and go, there is nothing else I could have done. It doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes. I've made tons of them, but I truly did the best I could with what I had. And I think that the first word that jumped out to me when you're speaking is the judgment piece. And I mean, a lot of people don't speak. They don't share stories because, many generations was that, that's your business and you keep that to yourself. You don't talk about it. But the judgment piece keeps us stuck for so long because we are so afraid of what people will think of us. And I know I shared with you on the phone and shared with others that we did not tell family that there was a struggle until we were well into the struggle. We didn't tell anyone. We had excuses for everything because I just couldn't figure out how to put that into words. And it's not, the family didn't think wrong. Nobody did anything wrong. It was just that, I was so scared of being judged by others, which I believe almost every person in the world could understand and relate to. We're so scared of the judgment of others. But what my light bulb moment was that there was really no one who could judge me harder than I judged myself. Honestly, I tore myself down as a person in a way that I don't believe that's what I was supposed to do, but I did. And so judgment drove that wheel for a long time. It really drove the wheel and picked my direction until I decided to take that back. So is there anything judgment-wise that you can speak about? You dove right in sharing an unbelievably difficult story. So
my family didn't know what happened until he passed, to be honest with you. The players were myself and my wonderful husband, Roy.
Yeah.
Our sons knew what was going on, but it was just a lot of rage on their part. Why is he doing this to us? And here's another thing. Why is he doing this to us? He's not doing it to me.
No, I know. It's not even us, right? It's not even, I even said that to a family member once. Why is he doing that to us? I'm like, he's not doing it to you and he's not doing it to me. He's doing it to himself.
And we're in the crossfire. So
yeah.
The question then for me was, okay, the judgment I was passing myself was, when I realized what was happening, I said to myself, no, I was not compassionate to him because I made it about me. When he was going through this whole craziness in his life, in his living life, how can you be doing this to me? How can you do this to me? How can you do this to us? How can you,
to our family, to our...
Once did I say to my son, Michael, why are you in pain?
Yeah.
No, I kept shoving myself to him and saying, you can't do this, right? And that kept just making things worse, I believe, because he kept, you're up against. So I didn't approach it with love. I approached it with judgment. It's like, oh my God, we come from a good family. I've given you everything. Your father and I have given you everything. And, this is how you get us back. And it was this constant mantra where I can see it now, where if I embraced it and said, Michael, why are you in pain? What can I do to help you? But it was, no, you need to help me because I am ashamed to the extent of, I can't even look at you. I can't even tell people where you are at Christmas because you're out there getting high, right? So that was the big thing for me is my God, how do I tell my clients that my son is a drug addict? How do I tell my mom and dad?
Mm-hmm.
How do I tell my aunt and uncle? How do I tell my friends? So I kept it like.
So talk about carrying a boulder, like talk about carrying a boulder on you that is suffocating. Like you can't physically breathe because it's so big and you're not living any of your life at this point because, I mean, I can just picture it and I can feel it. I honestly can. I can feel it and understand at that point in time that there's just, you're surrounded by hoping nobody knows. Like I hope nobody knows. And meanwhile, like the amount of energy spent in trying to keep all the moving parts,
right? Control everything.
It's control.
Right.
Yeah, it's control. It's and I mean, again, like control is that's another whole topic in itself. But I was definitely a control freak. I'll say that. Like because I was like, I just wanted to stop. I wanted it to stop. Like this
way, like don't make me
stop doing this.
Yeah.
And it was a control piece because I also had the mindset that as a parent, you just fix things. Like that's your job. You fix it. You make it stop. And it just didn't. The more I tried to stop it, I had friends say like, why don't you do this? And I'm like, you know me. I've done everything I can physically think to do. Right. And, but you just kind of have to go, okay. So control piece, again, I think we spoke a little bit before we even started that the expectation and the control, like the amount of energy I was spending trying to control something that I had zero control over, but not spending any time working to control what I could control. And that was me and my actions and my choices and my words and all those things. So can you speak a little bit to the word control? I know it's a big word. It's a big word.
Control is a killer.
Mm-hmm.
Because you cannot make anyone or your loved ones, your friends, your connections do what you think is right because you're projecting. You can't control your own life. Therefore, I expect to control yours. I need your permission to control yours. And sometimes even without permission, I'm going to tell you what to do.
Right.
And it's a dead-end street because you're always going to be up against. It's not going to happen your way. Not even your will isn't. We're not even in control of what's going to happen in the next minute.
No.
We just give in to that greater source and say, okay, do your will on my life and accept what comes. And that's the mystery. Okay. People, even with coworkers, agendas and, you need to do that way. Why did you do that way? You should have said this. You should have said that. Well, why didn't you say it? Right?
Yes. Yes.
So, in relationships, my goodness, control is detrimental to a relationship because I believe in freedom. I believe in freedom of speech, freedom of anything. That being said, freedom doesn't mean you do whatever you want. Is you do everything with respect and love for yourself and others. And I think that no two people are identical. And I think that when we meet friends and we do get married, we do get engaged, you have to accept that person. And if you're going in with the intention that you're going to change someone, it's not going to happen. And that is proof. I thought I could go in and change Michael because I did my job. I was doing my job and he was doing his very well. And that's one of the gifts I've received from him. No matter what I did, he went ahead and did what he needed to do for his own self.
Right.
So I relinquished control, and everybody has to, the day that he passed on, I thought, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. It's too exhausting to be controlling someone's life. And it's very hurtful to yourself.
Yes.
When you're in someone else's business, you're not in your own. And there.
No. And
your own business is a full-time job.
Oh, exactly. And we're setting ourselves up. I say ourselves because, again, I've done
we're collective, right? Yeah.
Oh, but it's just the amount of energy and time to do something that you're never going to be successful at. Like,
No.
What a waste of time. An absolute waste of energy. And it's so bizarre because I look back at it and go, what were you doing? Like, what were you doing? You just, because I was a mom and I was invested and I just wanted to fix what was happening. And that's just not how it works. And it's not a criticism, honestly. Like we see all kinds. I'm sure you come across it. As I continue to put myself out there, I continue to connect with other moms and they're like, I'm doing this all wrong and I'm doing this and I'm like, okay, look, can you just stop for a second? I fully believe you are doing the best that you can right now with what you have. You didn't ask for this. This was not on the master plan, right? We all have that plan of what life is going to look like. Good Lord, honestly. But we have this plan of what life is going to look like and how it's going to be. And you know what? Nobody gets. That's not how it works. We kind of, I do believe we're kind of directed on the path anyways. But we have to make the most of what we have. And for years, when you spend time trying to control a spouse or trying to control your children or trying to control all of those things, you are wasting precious energy that you could be using to making your life the best that you can be. Because there's only X amount of energy every day. I don't care who you are, I'm not Superman. Like there's X amount every day. And so if we spend it on things we can't control, then we are not putting that back towards ourselves, right?
And days go by.
Yeah.
Still playing that story.
Yeah.
Why isn't she doing what I'm telling her to do? But why aren't you doing it to yourself? That's what
it
means. Right. So, and here we go again, like judgment. Then you start resenting that person because they're not listening to you.
Right.
And when was the last time you were listening?
Yeah, probably not. I'll tell you, I have learned just as much about myself in this process that I don't think I would have learned. I wouldn't have learned this way if I wasn't forced to.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still didn't have to. I could have just continued trucking along, fighting life the way I was. At the end of the day, it's just, you know what? It's a much happier existence to be able to truly just own your own stuff, own your own choices, own your own life, and then create the life that you want. Because here's my nugget is that at the end of the day, I believe that is what my kids will do. I believe that's what other kids will do. We all have to own our own stuff in order to change it and create a change. All of us do. All of us do.
You know, there's 3 types of businesses: mine, yours, and God's.
Oh, I love that.
Mine, yours, and God's. So controlling somebody else's life, you're not in your business. Therefore, you will never come out of it. What the world is doing, it's none of my business. That's God's business. Why get involved in politics and religion when, it's too bad example, but
it's not. It isn't. Because again, you go back to, I have a number of people who are mortified that I don't watch CNN every day.
Well, and I'm with you. I don't watch the news. I don't know what's going on in the latest world events fortunately, I don't know what's the latest thing that's happening outside my door. I can't control it. What can I do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can make the world better by changing me and, not even telling people what to do, but lead by example. You don't have to keep talking. And honestly, from experience, people give you advice, but the likelihood of someone taking that advice is nobody cares. Okay. Nobody cares. They talk and talk and talk. You know what? Nobody cares. They're going to go on doing what they want to do because that's how it is.
Right.
So the best suggestion I have would be maybe just to hold on to their hand, acknowledging the pain they're in, and try to, send good energy to that person that they find their way. Say that in your mind, like, please help them find their way. I mean, what can we do? My way is wrong for you, and yours is wrong for mine. Who am I to suggest that, you should be, eating bananas instead of oranges? Really, no.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, I think that control piece, the judgment piece are far bigger than what most people give it credit for. So you've obviously had some turning points.
Yes.
And and I don't want to upset you, but I want to know what, like, so take us to the point where, you know, you've lost your son, and you could have done a number of different things, and you have gone on to create that forward. Tell us a little bit about what you have done with the purpose of your son's passing.
Well, firstly, it's impacted every part of my being: physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. So I worked on myself through the pain. And so a lot of stuff comes up, and we work, and I always say lean into it.
Right.
So through meditation and exercise and eating differently and through prayer, I found my way of life. Mm-hmm. That was the first thing. Then immediately when I started feeling better, I understand that I am still a source of love to my son. Mm-hmm. And what good. He looks down at his mom, licking her wounds and being a martyr to this. What, the poor kid up there. Like, my God, Mom. Like, really? That's not even who I knew you to be. So I'm still a source of love for Michael, and I'm a source of love to the world. So I started changing my perspective on how I can be present and help other youth and children like Michael. So I am in the process of opening up Michael's House, which is a youth detox and rehabilitation center for ages 12 to 21. And it's drug addiction and mental health with addiction.
Wow.
It covers both aspects. So I am in the works of creating and connecting to people who are, you know, giving me suggestions on how to go about it. So that being said, I remember when I wanted to put Michael in a detox center, it's a lot of money to do that. And Michael being 18 years of age, one of the women I spoke to said, well, you know, you have to pay everything up front. It was something like $40,000 for my son to be there.
For how long, Tina?
It was 3 months.
Okay, so can people just understand that you're down there to try to figure out, I don't mean you're, I just really want people to understand that. You're at a point where you're trying to find an option for your son. You're looking at a 3-month option. It's $40,000 up front. And I know the rest.
But the kicker is, because Michael was 18 years of age, he was willing in that moment to go, but he could have changed his mind tomorrow morning.
Right. And what happens to you?
Had to let him go. So there was no commitment on his part. It would be like you just paid that money. So it turns out that he agreed and then disagreed. So he took off because this wasn't working anymore. So here is the other aspect of this organization, is that we are willing, with a criteria, of course, to help parents fund their child's stay so that they can get the proper help they need. But what I want to state is that when the child comes in, it doesn't matter if they're 21. I mean, you're signing that you're staying here for the duration. So in that moment, I want that child possibly to sign their name saying, yes, I'm staying for the duration. We've put up the money to make sure that he's well looked after. And that way, at least he goes through the first 3 months and we get him cleaned up. But that's, you know, those are things I'm looking at doing, and, you know, putting myself in that situation at the time. What could have helped me then, right? Someone to make my son.
Oh no, it's okay.
Right? Do it and get help. What's on the other side? We don't know. Don't know. So, but whatever it is that this team that I'm putting together can do for these children is where my next endeavor is going to be. So that is what I'm embracing. That's what I'm doing with my life after this happened to me, is to extend that love to other parents, other children. And you know what? If one child comes out of this alive and saved,
exactly.
All that, my son did not die in vain. My son was not born an addict. No child is born an addict. It's part of the environment, part of the competition, part of fitting in. It's relentless. Me visiting out there with other children, what is going on? They want to fit in, and this is the best they can do. And as a parent, please take that in consideration. They're not doing this to you. They're not doing it to us.
Oh, not at all. And I love that you said that, because very few people say that. I love that you said that, because I can vividly remember my own words saying, why are you doing this to me?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing this to us?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually don't, I really don't believe, there was no agenda. It didn't go out with an agenda to make it happen. It's not, when I can look back at it now, I'm like, geez, what were you thinking? But it just was my reaction to deal with what we had. It wasn't something that I'm going to punish you. It was just a choice that they were making, and then making again and making again and making again over and over. Right.
And
yeah,
the way it goes. And for us parents out there, just take the time, and please know that if the worst case scenario, what would happen is what's happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
But please keep yourself healthy at all levels. Reach out, get the counseling you need, speak to someone. Sometimes I found that speaking to friends was awful. Okay, everybody's saying, how can you do this? I feel sorry for you. How are you living? How do you get up? So those comments keep you back, because then you went, oh my God, should I feel guilty for wanting to do this for my son? Or should I feel guilty for have done that? Like, how could you have kicked him out? So all this, it's not really positive. But you're being supportive, and they're looking at this pain, and they're looking, they don't know how to address that. Who would?
No, exactly. There is no, I can look back on so many situations where I was angry, and now I'm not angry. I'm like, okay, well, they were really just doing the best that they could. I couldn't see it like that at the time. And my social circle changed. To say it changed is mild to say it changed. It 360, it completely, it changed, and it's okay. It's not out of anger. It's not out of, I see the world differently now. I do, because how could I not? How could I not see it differently? And so there is no anger in saying that, but it really did have to change, because I really believe that people their intentions are good. I do believe their intentions are good, and they're looking at it going, I don't know what to say to her. I just don't know what to say. So then they say something, and I'm like, really? Now you're going to criticize me? I'm already doing that to myself. But it wasn't out of anger or frustration. It was just, they just didn't know what else to do. I don't think they knew. It's really like when somebody passes away or something goes wrong, and you just sit there and you're like, I don't know what to say. You know what? The best thing you can hear is, it's not about you. It's totally not about you.
No.
It's not about you. I have 2 friends right now who are fighting a very serious cancer diagnosis.
My goodness.
And, and they're young, and and it's they don't know what to say, but I always remind myself, it's not about me. It's totally not about me. This is nothing to do with me, nothing to do with me. It's all about them. And what can I do to ease or create some ease somewhere? If I was somewhere that I could do it, then please let me find the words to do that.
Yeah. And what is there to do? Nothing.
No.
Hold them tightly in your thoughts and wish them well, because this is a journey. And, speaking of journeys, we don't know where the next step is going to be, but know that wherever it is, either it's a win-win situation. Mm-hmm. Whether you learn or you grow. So if you change your perspective, we grow each time. It's a win-win. Life is a win-win. I'll tell my clients that all the time. Either we learn or we grow. So learning is, whether the experience are good or bad, it's perfect for you. Mm-hmm. It's perfect for you.
It is.
The universe is saying, here it is again. How are you going to look at it this time, right? And, then, the magic that happens is that you look at it and you go, it's okay. I'm going to do it differently this time.
Yeah.
And then you make that decision for yourself and for the world, then watch what happens.
Oh,
It shifts, right? Mm-hmm. It's life is beautiful, regardless.
Honestly, I'm proud of you, and I'm so humbled.
It's not easy.
Oh,
being a parent, my gosh, is probably the hardest, toughest job I've ever had.
Anyways,
I still have.
Anyways, right? Like, this is the thing, is that anyways, it's one of the toughest jobs that you ever do. It really is one of the toughest jobs that you ever do. And that's why I like to say that I do believe that we're all just doing the best that we can. I do believe we're totally doing the best that we can. Do I learn skills today that I could have used differently a year ago? Yep. But but it's not about looking back. We talked about that before. It's not about looking back and go like, why'd you do it this way? Why'd you do it like this? It's about, okay, so I've learned that now. What can I do with that skill moving forward? Like, what can I do moving forward? Can I pay it forward? Would I react differently today? Yeah, probably. I would react very differently with certain different circumstances. But that's because it's learned. We can read. I'm a reader. We can read anything in a book, but until you actually have to put it into practice in your life, that's when the real sinks in, the real knowledge sinks in, that it's like, okay, now I get it. Now I get it. Right.
Yeah. It's, have lots of patience and compassion with yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's not something that's easy to do.
It doesn't.
No, I'm sure everybody can relate to that. But you know what? The other way to look at it is that, and I will say you, as in not you, Tina, but anybody listening, is that you have spent years being your biggest critic. And how has that worked out for you?
Oh, it doesn't work out.
Right. So, and I've said that to some of my clients, but you've already done that. I've listened to you in the phone call. It's been 15 minutes and you've insulted yourself like a dozen times. So how is that working for you? It's not. So how about we try something different? Like, how about we try something different, right? A little bit more compassion.
What's more painful, being where you are or making a decision for yourself and saying, okay, enough?
Yeah, it is definitely enough.
Because once you make that decision, everything will be done for you.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
Trust that. It unfolds. It's so beautiful. And when we practice mindfulness, pay attention. Watch yourself talk. Watch yourself speak. Mm-hmm. What are you saying? Because everything I say, really, I should be listening to, because it's about me. I'm saying it because I need to hear it.
Yeah.
And, stay out of people's business.
Oh, just spend that time and energy on your own business, right?
Oh, goodness, yes.
That would be definitely one of my takeaways that I would say. You certainly sound like, if you look at it, I like to ask this question, and I think you've already answered it, but can you see the gifts in your adversities now?
Oh my goodness, yes.
When I first used the word gifts, it was a trigger word. There was a lot of people that were upset that I was even using that word, which told me it was a word I had to use. That's why I'm not here to please everyone. I'm here to talk about the stuff nobody wants to talk about. So gifts in your adversities, how do you see them as gifts, and what do you see as gifts now?
I see death as a gift. I see love expands, and it's just a thought away. I see gifts that I'm able to listen to my inner compass and guidance. I feel confident. I'm not ashamed of where I come from or who I am, and how I speak or how I talk. This is who I am now, and I'm good with that. Mm-hmm. I feel that all these stepping stones in my life, and looking back, I see each and every lesson learned, and how I made someone feel by being nasty to them, and how I made someone feel by being encouraging or being their cheerleader. And I don't want to feel that for myself.
No.
So I am not going to do it for you, to you, and that's being responsible for your actions and words, not just actions, because words are cut like knives, and and talk that way to yourself. you know, it's your inner child. That child inside you is, listen to me. You're not listening. You're, you know, and I love that girl, because that girl, she, all along, she was saying to me, you know, come back, come back, come back, come back. And when I started, you know, paying attention to her and holding her and loving her and letting her know that she's safe, regardless what happens to us or to me, then everything changed. That love for that girl became my self-love.
Yeah.
With that nourishment, right, then I was able to extend that to you with no judgment.
Right.
Because I understood that that child lives in every one of us.
Every single one of us.
So we're adults and having temper tantrums. I call them temper tantrum. You know, when I'm having a temper tantrum, I think of 5-year-old Tina, and I say to myself, how would I talk to that 5-year-old child? Would I tell her she's like no good? What would you say to that 5-year-old child? Come here. I love you. It's okay. It's going to be all right. Everything is well. All those things. So why aren't we talking that way to ourselves?
Oh, it's a great question. It's a great question. It really is. I love it.
See all that love that we think we're putting out there? The question remains, is it real? Because if it's not applied to you, then I cannot love you. Saying I love you, when I tell you I love you, Marsha, I'm saying I love you, Tina. So it's, I feel
the mirror, right? It's the mirror example. Yeah.
And you know, it's just kindness. Just, there's kindness in what is happening to the world. Thinking collectively, all these souls are coming together, trying to make a better place. So that's kind. There's kind in someone, you know, suggesting that you should color your hair differently. There's kindness in that, right? There's kindness in everything. It's, again, goes back to perspective. I mean, the worst thing you can do is create war. How do we create it? We're up against another human being. Because when you come to the realization that there's nothing to be up against but yourself, that changes.
It does. It does.
So it's an act of war. Every time you're going to go up against someone's comment, someone's judgment, trust me, you're just fueling what that person is saying. There's nothing for you to fight for. There's nothing to defend. Why am I defending myself? This is it. This is who you get, right? And if you don't like it, the best thing that could happen is either stay or you go. And it's kind in both ways, right? So I'm being spared if you go, and I'm being, you know, in the presence of such a beautiful energy. So, you know, I just, you know, I don't get emotional because of that. I just have this sense of love flowing through me. And stop your madness and live your life, because it's very, very short. And, you know, stop worrying about being kind to everyone else. Start doing it for you. That kindness just goes out anyway.
It does. You know, I love that you have been that real with us and that open with us. I love that, because that's like, I love that. I love when people are real.
Thank you.
I really keep speaking and helping others with the fact that every relationship in your life will stem with the relationship you have with you. Like every single one. So, you know, the amount and where that light bulb really hit for me was that I can only forgive someone else to the capacity that I can forgive myself. I can only love someone else to the capacity that I love myself. So when I was reading that, and I don't remember which book I read that in, but when I was reading that, it was a sense that, okay, I have to forgive like my kids where things got to and some of the positions that they got to. And I can't do that until I learn to forgive myself. So that was a really tough journey, because I'm not going to lie, because I spent a lot of years being really hard on myself for where things were and what had happened to our perfect, healthy family. Like we were just, but I had a friend who had said to me, like, but your kids could have cancer. Your kids could have this. They could have, there's other things, like, so don't, it happens. Lots of people find ways to deal with what they're given, and you can do that without hate. But my message was that I really had to learn how to forgive, and that had to start with me. So, as everything does start with us.
Yes, everything is about you. Everything's about me.
I know. It's such a bizarre thing, isn't it?
There's only me. There's only me.
I can't pay it forward. I can't be a kind soul to other people and be miserable to myself. It's not authentic. It's not real. It's just
not real. And energy, we're all energy, so it comes across.
Yeah.
Not authentic, or you're just, trying to be someone you're not. But, I always say, be you and the world will adjust. Yeah. Don't worry. You'll meet the right people.
And if they don't adjust, I would love to say there, if they don't adjust, they're not your people.
No.
If they don't appreciate who you are and you being you, if they don't appreciate that, then they're not your people. And that's okay, because there's other people. It doesn't have to be, we don't all have to be the same. We can be different and be unique and be who we are. Yeah. But I just really wanted to touch on that, because that relationship, every relationship in my life will stem from my relationship with myself.
That's right.
And how I value it. And that is, I know that there's probably some people going, what? That makes no sense. But you learn the hard way that it really does stem from us.
It does. Everything you do, it affects everyone collectively. So if all of us then decide to practice unconditional love and make that our way of life,
right?
Imagine
the
movement of love that would be. And yeah, that's probably in our perfect world, but my world is perfect, because if I practice that, then there's nothing wrong with my world.
No.
Nothing wrong with the people I know. There's nothing wrong with anything. I accept what is, and this is the best evolution that could happen at this time for the human race.
Right. That's awesome. I love that.
Oh, I love you, Marsha.
Oh, seriously. If people wanted to connect with you, what's the best way to connect with you?
Well, they can connect me. Drop by at Holistic BodyWorx we're at the Heart Center of Mississauga. Okay. You can go onto our website at www.holisticbodyworx with an X at the end, .ca. Mm-hmm. And there's a contact page there, and you can send a line in, and we can start from there. And there's also a phone number. You can send me an email. I would love to hear from all of you. It's exciting. And I wish you all the best, and God bless, because do what you need to do for you. Always. And you know what? Don't look back.
No. Don't look back. And if you do find yourself looking back, I sometimes will look back with a smile and go, okay, I get why that happened. I get why that happened.
That's what it should be. That's what it should be used for, as a measuring tool, not as,
right, a judgment piece, more of a measuring tool.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that that's really important, because our energy needs to be put forward. I can't change the past. And I know I had a conversation with my husband one day, many times throughout this journey, where it was like, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this? And I said, well, why don't you go back and change that? And he's like, well, I can't. I'm like, right, let it go. Let it go. Just honestly, let it go, because I can't change any of that. I think we also have to know that with the way the universe works, is that we could go back and change every single thing that we did, and we still might be right here, like in this exact same spot. And that was an eye-opener for me when I read that. I thought, you know what? So I have to at least embrace that journey and embrace the lessons that are learned, because I still might be in the exact same spot. Because they were actions and choices outside of myself. They weren't my own choices. They were actions and choices outside of myself. And I say that with no anger, no hurt, no nothing. No. I really do. Yeah.
It took us here, right?
Yeah. Oh, I can't even tell you the number of people that I have crossed paths with, that it has been, it's been incredible. And for you, Tina, honestly, I admire you and what you're doing, because I just envision a movement where more people are sharing stories. There's less judgment happening, more help, more service, more kindness, more paying it forward, less shame, less guilt. And, that might sound like a big mouthful, but I do believe it happens. And it happens with one person at a time who steps up and takes that on and takes it on. And in that process, we end up connecting with some amazing people. So, yeah.
So blessed.
Yeah. So I am very grateful that our paths have crossed. And if you would like to connect with Tina, I will have her information as well in the notes of the posting. And I just really want to thank her for her time, her energy, her space, and her ability to be very real and vulnerable with you today, because there's not a lot of people who could have gone through and walked through the shoes that she's done and do what she's doing now. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you're doing. I really do. And I thank you so much.
Namaste. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's been delightful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you. So thank you again, Tina.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for tuning in today to this episode of Own Your Choices, Own Your Life. If this speaks to you, please feel free to share it. There are so many nuggets in it that it really hits home. It will hit home for somebody. So thank you for tuning in. Until the next episode, please remember that when you own your choices, you truly own your life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.